We now move on to our next session, which is Analyst Keynote Address on AI and Beyond Redefining the Future. Our speaker is Mr. Fersht, CEO and Chief Analyst, HFS Research,
which he also founded. HFS Research is the leading global research and advisory firm helping Fortune 500 companies through IT and business transformation. Phil has pioneered concepts like generative enterprise, one office, and one ecosystem. He has authored first report on robotic process automation, and he is the foundational voice for RPA and process AI. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a huge round of applause and welcome our speaker, Phil Fersht. All over to you, Phil.
Can you hear me okay? We good? Excellent. Okay, what a unique morning. Very peaceful morning, so maybe I'll rock your world a little bit with some insights on what we're seeing happening in the future of AI-driven services. You know, we really started off, we can look at history, and we can look at, I think, what is a disruption? And disruption really is radical change to an existing industry due to real technology innovation. And I think our first big disruption was one of, the wheel. It got us moving. The steam engine was really the next big innovation because that gave us real power, not just to move, but to mill wheat, to create machinery, to run factories, until electricity came along. And that gave us light, and that created ultimately household appliances and the microchip, which obviously gave us the internet, and that gave us data. That's the fourth big disruption that we've seen because of technology change. The fifth one, I think, is what's happening to us now, and Gen AI has given us the ability to create content. Whether you're a developer or just a humble business professional, we can now create content at our fingertips like we never could before. So in reality, when we look at 2023, it was really about what is AI all about? Is it about Gen AI, which is a subset of machine learning, which is a subset of broader AI? I think 2024 was about why. So what are we doing with Gen AI and agentic, etc.? And the majority of people think it's around predicting and personalizing data and content for themselves before being productivity generators and other things. And then finally, 2025 is about the how. How are we actually going to take this technology that's only really been around for 2 years? It's moved very, very quickly. It's moved so fast that startups are struggling a little bit to raise money. People are struggling to figure out how to train themselves more effectively. So how do we do this? And this is what I'm going to focus on a lot in the next few minutes. So let's talk a little bit about the IT services industry. You can see here since 2021, it hasn't been a very pretty picture. We've seen maybe the flattening out of 3 decades of continuous growth with IT services. And now we're at a point where how do these companies, which have been the heartbeat of Indian IT, really find that next path for growth and success? Now things have really hit more of a flat curve. Look at what's happening in the world. So when we look at our survey of over 600 enterprises, you can actually see 75% of them are looking to renegotiate their BPO relationships, 72% their IT services relationships, and 62% are looking at their software and SaaS relationships as well. So we have hit a period of change. Enterprise leaders are fed up paying every year more and more money for their software licenses, incremental revenue for their services support. They want to get more value, and how do we actually achieve this? So one of the most shocking pieces of data I'll share with you, and this is when we spoke to over 1,000 major enterprises at the end of last year, and we asked them, what is your approach with AI when it comes to replacing professional physical services in the next 5 years. And while 37% don't have major plans, you can actually see 6 out of 10 are actually looking to either replace a major portion or all of their professional services by 2030 with AI. We've already embarked on this period of change where companies want to get more with what they have. You know, when you look at maybe, I read recently Harvard MBAs are struggling more than ever to find jobs coming out of their degrees. And part of the reason is that enterprises want to leverage AI before they keep investing more and more in expensive talent and people. So we've reached a point where everybody's looking to get more from the same, and they're looking to leverage AI to get more and more, become more productive with their businesses. In addition, though, we've talked about the bottoming out of the third-party services model, but when we look at the actual shift towards using the hybrid model, where we're using GCCs and shared services, you can now see that those companies, particularly those major enterprises with real experience, are all looking at moving towards a hybrid model more than any other as their chosen form of achieving services, which I think for the community here in Hyderabad is really terrific news. And you can see here, this is the latest number in terms of GCC expectations, growing at a rate of 10% since that we think until 2029. Expenditure is growing at 13%, and headcount of staff in GCC is growing at 14% a year, and very much so right here in Hyderabad. And one of the things that really excites me about Hyderabad is what's been happening, not just in the last 10, 20 years, what's happening in the last few months. So AWS, I had a nice evening last night overlooking the building, but they've invested $1 billion in 3 centers in Telangana already, and are going to invest another $4.4 billion US by by 2030. The Netherlands-based technology innovator Arit has entered India with the launch of its Global Innovation Hub. We've seen Eli Lilly, which is the juggernaut of pharmaceuticals, announcing major plans to build a new GCC in Hyderabad and employ over 1,000 FTEs. Other examples that really excited me is one called Ciara, which is a leading US-based CX transformation provider. And then we're seeing big investments from the third parties themselves. HCL adding 5,000 employees, and very significantly, Capital Land looking to invest some serious money in a new IT park development, and Cognizant looking to add 15,000 new jobs and a new office in Telangana by December 2024. Just back up. There we go. Thank you. Wonderful. So what I love about what is happening in an area like Hyderabad is we have a bringing together of academia, of government, of business together in one conversation to achieve common goals and ambitions for each other, for talent growth, for infrastructure growth, building a real hub of innovation, driving academic collaboration, and leveraging government support effectively to pull this all together. And it was very reassuring to meet dignitaries from both the US and UK in the last couple of days who are very committed to this region in particular, to foster more growth, to clear the way to build new centers, to figure out how to unlearn old skills and learn new things. And this is something that isn't happening in regions in the US, for example, in the UK and other parts of the world where there's a growing disconnect between academia and business. And this is one of the things I think India can be very proud of and very excited about, is uniting together for common goals, to achieve what's best for industry and for business, and especially for the next generation of talent. Now, if I was a university graduate in India today, and I could come out of college, I could go work for Eli Lilly, I could work for Microsoft, AWS, I could go and work for maybe an Infosys or Cognizant, one of these types of businesses. Fungibility of talent across different types of enterprise now is fantastic. The days of hundreds of kids sitting in cubes just cranking out monotonous work, these days are moving far beyond that to much more innovative support and capability. And just seeing the investments which some of the world's leading consulting firms like Deloitte and Accenture, the buildings are incredible that they've built up, and the focus in this part of the world is really, really magnificent. So, we talked a lot about FOMO, the fear of missing out. I'd like to talk a bit about FOBO, which is we need a good dose of fear of becoming obsolete, right? I'll talk to you more about talent issues, but we need to be relevant as humans. And when we look at what's happening with AI, this reminds me a little of the internet 30 years ago, where if you were a business, you would go out of business if you didn't have a shop front online, you didn't have people with the skills to do that for you. And development was very, very fast. The same is happening now with AI. And what happens is when people in their consumer lives are learning how to use ChatGPT or DeepSeek or Perplexity or any of these apps and these tools themselves, they're bringing them into the workplace. They're becoming a set part of day-to-day operations. Most kids under 25, they're living and dying now by AI apps, Gen AI apps, agentic apps already. And so we're now seeing this real sense of, if I can get on top of this and really start to showcase to my colleagues in workshops and boot camps how to generate data more effectively, how to synthesize information, how to do my job better, I'm getting on with my career and I'm getting recognized by my superiors because of this. So why do we need to have a FOBO, a fear of becoming obsolete with services and software? I'm going to be really honest. SaaS is a bloated, overpriced mess that forces companies to pay for features that they don't need. IT services and consulting are a glorified human labor business masquerading as innovation. CIOs are still spending billions on static tools and labor-heavy services when AI-first solutions can do more for less. Let's not mince words here, right? People are looking more for less. So what I'd like to really talk about today is a concept that we coined at HFS a few months ago. You may have heard it now. We are calling this services as software. This is an AI-first automated service layer that's coming to obliterate everything in its path. No more billable hours, no more clunky SaaS, right? We are going through a big change. It's a good change, it's an exciting change, and it's a little frightening as well if we've been doing things one way for many years. And unless we're going to retire in a couple of years' time, we've got to get ahead of this as individuals. We've got to be smarter. This is our tech services vision at HFS, and you may recognize the industry in India in particular started with what we call as staff augmentation. We've graduated to technology-enabled services, which is really moving to FTE-based pricing, human-centric skills, being more efficient. Where a lot of our services are today are around platform-led services. You can see examples, we've even put some here, like TCS Cognix or Accenture Synops, for example, or even Infosys Topaz. You see these methodologies that are all about integrating platforms, being more scalable, becoming more efficient. The next phase, and this is what is really starting to evolve now, is what we term as AI-led agentic services. So this is how do we build out smart AI agents to optimize processes and decision making. I'll go more into these in detail shortly, but there's a lot of them out there already, like Replit's Ghostwriter, MindCorp, Amazon Q, for example. We're even seeing organizations like IBM with their Watson X platform, and even the big four consulting firms doing some pretty cool things around agentic, because they've realized they are under an existential threat from agentic if they're going to continue with these legacy old consulting models. Finally, this is where we are moving towards by 2030, is what we call service as a software. And this is really where it's about mimicking human behavior, human activities within a software application and maximizing efficiency. And there's some really exciting examples coming out. We've seen tools like Rhino, Daybreak, Builder.ai, even Salesforce's Agentic 2.0. These are software platforms which want a piece of the services industry. They're creating software platforms that are sold like services, and they're looking to take their piece of the services revenue. So let's look at the difference between SaaS and services and why this is all becoming services as software. SaaS is static. Services are people-driven. Whereas services as software is AI-driven and autonomous. SaaS, when it comes to scalability, is very limited. You can't scale this. It's kind of brittle. It's hard. You need to have a real infrastructure to do this effectively. Services are very labor-intensive. To scale, it's more people, it's more people, it's more people, it's bigger, it gets more complex, it's harder to manage, especially when you have these quasi-hybrid work environments. Whereas services software is infinite, it's AI-led. In terms of pricing, SaaS has always been feature-based and per seat, it's expansive. It's like, hey, you know, we need a license for every single employee we have. With services, it's all about billable hours and FTE-based models. Whereas with services as software, it's outcome-based, it's consumption-driven. I'm buying something to achieve something. So if you think about it, software companies have always been about selling dreams, selling outcomes. You know, buy our software and you will achieve incredible knowledge and capability. And the services firms have to deliver on these dreams to help these software companies achieve their outcomes and goals. These are now coming together in a way that they have to be very adaptable. So get away from those preset workflows, custom consulting, to much more dynamic, real-time solutions. So we've put a number on this as well. So when we look at today's market forecast for software and services, you can see global software and SaaS growing over the next 10 years to around $2.5 trillion in spend annually. Whereas the global technology services, that's ITO, BPO, managed services, GCC services, right? This is growing to $3 trillion in the same time frame. But what is happening as we see this blending together of software and services is this services as software space really start to emerge. And you can see in the orange piece here, we see this growing to $1.5 trillion over the next 10 years. This is the future of our industry. Whether you're in the GCCs market or in a third-party market or a consulting business or a SaaS business, you have to learn each other. You have to learn how to take people-driven tasks and figure out how to deliver them in an agentic, people-added solution that can be priced in a way that clients understand it and consume it and can spend it. And if you're a CIO or an enterprise leader or whoever in this industry, you need to understand a whole new stack constantly. Whether you're in consumer apps, in this enterprise ecosystem around generative, you need to know apps like OpenAI, DeepSeek, or in the enterprise stack, you've got a whole bunch of productivity and marketing tools, industry verticals, all the apps around infrastructure, open source, everything. This is a whole new world that we've moved into so quickly, and understanding your piece of that world and how you align with that is giving you a tremendous opportunity as we walk into the future. But the key is not to become obsolete, not to turn a blind eye away from what is really happening, and embrace it and understand how to become effective at working with these solutions and these technologies. So let's start to look at the future and how we define that. As generously mentioned earlier, a lot of this started with RPA, robotic process automation, sort of hit the industry about 15 years ago. And these RPA apps are all about following instructions. Gen AI was really the next evolution, which came in a couple of years ago with ChatGPT-3, and this was about creating capabilities based on prompts. So it was a productivity amplifier that accelerates creative analytical work that bottlenecks humans. Agentic AI, which is really where we're embarking into now, is understanding goals and figuring out how to achieve them. It's a collaborative actor. So agentic is a collaborative actor that removes the need for constant human oversight of complex processes. A lot of people have asked me about AGI and when do I see this happening, but this is really about apps that can think, reason, and learn like a human in any domain. You know, it's about being self-directed, having intelligence. It's overcoming human cognitive limitations. That's what AGI is about. It's about taking multiple agents, if you like, and having them interact with each other with real intelligence and capability. And eventually, we may hit something called artificial superintelligence, which is the real singularity that Kurzweil and co. have been talking about for the last few decades. But superintelligence is a fully autonomous intelligence that surpasses human cognitive capabilities and can solve problems and innovate on an exponential scale. This is the long-distance future, but you can see this path we've been going through from basic tasks, directed tasks, to tasks that can be self-directed, then that can reason, and then that become very, very intelligent. So agentic systems, you know, think about it. Most people probably here have agentified a task. You know, a standalone agent that can handle one task or function. Could be just email writing or meeting scheduler. Who here has started working with multiple agents, where you can have multiple agents working together within a single business function? Few of you, a few hands, so getting there. That could be like a sales team of agents handling prospecting, qualification and follow-ups, for example. And eventually, we're going to something that we're calling horizontal multi-agents, which is where you could have your sales agents working with your marketing and customer service agents. So you've now got agents working across business functions to share information with each other. Hey, we have a customer proposal in play. We need information to help market our solutions to this particular customer, for example. How are we integrating this information with CX? Right, this is all about creating agents, bringing them together within single business functions, and then having them work across multiple business functions, and us as humans being the brilliant people who can orchestrate and manage these systems so we can use our human intelligence to make these systems extremely effective. We're already seeing agentic take over work, and I'll leave these with you for more examples, but you know, for example, the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company has already collaborated with Microsoft and G42 and AIQ to deploy autonomous AI in the energy sector. And they're looking, for example, to accelerate their seismic surveys from months to days. So they're already looking at using agentic to really improve how they're exploring natural resources for oil and gas. You know, Intuit, the accounting application, is actually using agentic AI across its suite of platforms and products to streamline customer onboarding, for example, and classify customer information. And then lots of examples in the front and the back office, which you can read about, but systems that automate data extraction for document types. In the back office, having predictive agents monitor critical part inventories, things like that. These agents can do all sorts of things across the work ecosystem. I've got an example here. This is a marketing campaign. So we're seeing a lot of agentic put to work in marketing, where it's a lower risk services in many points. It's more externally focused. But you can have a planning agent streamlining the CIO's campaign requests into tasks. That planning agent can direct initiatives to a research agent, which gathers market intelligence, or a creative agent, which is developing a desktop campaign, or a strategy agent optimizing a campaign reach. You could even have a campaign coordinator agent synthesizing inputs from all the agents into a much more cohesive campaign, and even a review agent to ensure the campaign alignment is effective with the brand, with the objectives and budget. So you've got this whole workflow agent network that is helping us think, create, and collaboratively and more adaptively like humans. Incredible, huh? You could do a lot of this now. The problem is how do you motivate your CMO to build a team of agents to work with all these representatives in their marketing and sales teams, etc., to do this? How do you get people over that fear of, hey, losing my job to a piece of software? I mean, I joke, but up till recently, we often moved work from humans to humans. It could be, hey, we're going to take a bunch of Eli Lilly's research processes and we're going to move them into the center in Hyderabad, for example. People don't have a problem with moving work from humans to humans, but moving work from humans to computers, this is hard. This is difficult stuff, but this is where we have to get ahead of what is happening in the industry and realize we are just getting smarter and managing the ability to get more and more of our work done more productively using technology. It's like, hey, if I could get a smarter agent to run my calendar for me more effectively, or many of us are already using agents to summarize our emails and meetings and do all these things more effectively already. This is just taking everything to the next level. And it's here, it's now. It's something that we really need to be well ahead of. Can we dim the lights for the movie? Yeah. Can we dim the lights a bit? Yeah. Yeah.
I'm Andy Lane from Be My Eyes, and I'm about to take a journey that may change lives around the world. Vision is such a dominant sense for most of us. Our eyes feed us an endless stream of information, but it is somewhat different for me. I'm blind, so I've had to learn new skills and use workarounds to live my life without sight. I still think visually, but I have to build the images in my mind through other means. Today though, I'm experiencing something new. I'm using OpenAI's newest model and voice-first interface to imagine the world through a conversation with an AI.
Nice sunglasses! They definitely add a cool factor.
Oh, thank you. What is in front of me at the moment?
You're looking at a beautiful sunny day by the River Thames in London. Right in front of you is the Tower Bridge, one of the most famous bridges in the world, with its majestic twin towers and blue suspension cables.
That's perfect. Can you tell me if the bridge is up or down at the moment?
The bridge is down at the moment. So
As the AI is speaking, my mind is building a visual image. I'm now getting a real appreciation of the majesty and scale of some of London's sights as they're described to me.
Tell me what you can see.
I can see the top of Big Ben peeking through the trees. It's got that classic neo-Gothic design with the recognizable clock faces on each of its four sides. It's such an iconic landmark, isn't it?
I can visualize the iconic sights that so many visitors come to London to see.
Is the king in residence at the moment?
Yes, it looks like the king is in residence right now. The Royal Standard flag is flying above Buckingham Palace, which is the signal that the monarch is present. How exciting to be there while the king is home.
Try and tell me exactly what they're doing right now, please.
Right now the ducks are gently gliding across the water. They're moving in a fairly relaxed manner, not in a hurry. Occasionally, one of them will dip its head under the water, probably looking for food, and then pop back up.
I even know when a taxi is coming with its orange light on. I think I'll hail it to get home.
Yes, I spotted one just now. It's heading your way on the left side of the road. Get ready to wave it down. Great job hailing that taxi. It looks like you're all set to go. That's a good dog right there, leading the way into the taxi. Safe travels.
Blind people around the world have rich and fulfilled lives, but it can be so much more difficult without sight. But my experience today has given me an overwhelming feeling of power and joy, and I'm so excited that other blind people around the world are soon going to have access to OpenAI's newest model through Be My Eyes.
I think it's a bit like a driverless car. It feels like it's a lot to take in, but then the instant that you do take it in, it just becomes completely normal. And that normality is like so full of hope and optimism. Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
Incredible, huh? It was great. We had someone from OpenAI here to look at what is the impact of 4Omni and some of the abilities that you can already use with agentic in your own iPhones and Android apps to be tremendously beneficial to us personally. And this is where I truly believe we're going to see this wave of adoption, is as we get better at using agentic technologies for our own use and Apple Intelligence, and you see some of the things that that can do, right? This is what is changing corporate behavior very, very quickly in terms of how we expect to use applications in the future. And this is why services as software, this is going to happen because we're thinking differently about what we can use software for, how to make it far more agile, far more relevant, far more responsive to everything that we do. So let's look at the reality of where we are. This is some brand new data that is only just being released, and we spoke with 550 leaders of initiatives involving AI across the Global 2000, and 88% of them are fairly stalled in embedding AI strategically to drive transformation. So you can see here, we call it purposeful AI, which is those companies using it in a full strategic integration for much more autonomous decision making. A third of companies, we call them at the generative AI stage, where they're starting to use AI for some moderate data integration, expanding beyond efficiency. But the majority of companies are still at what we call foundational AI phase, which is much more basic task automation, limited data exposure, and solo deployments. So this is answering where we are. You know, only a small percentage of businesses are really ahead of this right now, but many are starting to catch up and trying to figure out where we're shifting to. So what's holding us back? Here from another sample of the Global 2000, we asked leaders in businesses across IT and across business functions, what are your top internal challenges to fast track innovation within your company? And we can look at technical debt and data debt and skills debt. But the number one debt that companies need to fix is what we call cultural debt. It's resistance to change. It's a lack of C-suite direction. And it's how to manage a remote and hybrid work environment. I was having a fantastic conversation with a deep HR strategist the other day about are we going to see another economic recession in the next couple of years? And his response was simply, we're not going to see an economic recession. What we're going through is a possible humanist recession, where we're worried about the economy, we're stressed about politics. Everywhere seems to be uprooted in uncomfortable political craziness and things that aren't new in this world. And also we're anxious about AI. So we're operating at a time as leaders in businesses where we need to really figure out how to build cultures within our own organizations where everybody is excited, motivated, they see purpose in their workplaces. We talk negatively about companies who try and humanize agents and bots. That's a big negative in your business if you say, hey, here is your new agentic AI bot that is going to be part of you. That's not the way to do this, right? We are the humans, and these are technology tools to help humans do our jobs better. But we need to figure out all the things that are, harming our culture within our organizations, so we can embrace things with more zest and more enthusiasm. Other things that have complicated our world is enterprises who think they can just throw AI into their systems without thinking about compliance and guardrails and security have another thing coming. So anyone working with the EU right now, they have serious process issues that need to be resolved to pass EU regulations with AI, with customer data, supplier data, everything. The US, we joke there's a sort of sugar rush of innovation around freedom, but there's state-by-state hangovers going on, and we're looking at the new Trump AI agenda, which is different from the Biden one, right? We could be looking at a big AI free-for-all right now. We have tech billionaires directing government now and working in the US payment systems themselves. So fairly exciting, but slightly turbulent times are happening. And then in India, we love India because it's like no specific AI laws yet. So there's a lot of opportunity here to let's go get ahead of this and figure this thing out. So I want to finish up a little bit with, is AI going to come after my job? I did a LinkedIn vote the other day about a lot of people getting laid off besides cost reduction and why. And only 12% said it's their companies using AI. 35% said it's because their skills no longer match the needs of the job. So AI isn't really going to replace you. You may be replaced by somebody who knows how to use AI better than you, and I think that's the challenge that we have to face up to as professionals. The other thing which I keep going on about is we're just not ready. 45% of employees are either worried about job loss or resistant to change, and only 15% are actually positive about AI adoption. This is a serious issue, and I'm not going to ask for a show of hands here, but there's a lot of anxiety and lethargy around, okay, I played around with DeepSeek for 5 minutes and didn't like it. Well, hang on a second, you need to really embrace AI as part of your job and part of what you do. And I think it's successful when you can bring your teams together and have them present in boot camps or in offsites to say, how did you leverage these AI tools to do your job better, to support your calls, to support your customers, to synthesize data better, to summarize better. This is something where we have to work together and embrace technology together to get over this cultural problem that is going on and plaguing industries and plaguing many, many businesses. We have to remember here that this isn't a tech thing anymore. This isn't just the next SAP upgrade or the next rollout of ServiceNow. This is an issue where 46% of tech spend today is outside of the CIO's office. Right? It's coming from the head of supply chain and marketing and sales and HR, these other areas. We are now at a situation where the CIO is under terrific pressure to work with their counterparts so we can all understand how to deploy AI effectively across business functions, industry functions, different types of areas. It's a very different world that we're embarking into, and we can't just roll out Microsoft Copilot and claim victory. Here we go, here's AI, everybody, done. This is very much a how are we leveraging AI across the customer experience and our employee experience? How are we bringing everyone together? And do we actually have a joined up, cohesive AI strategy? These are the skills across the Global 2000 that are crucial to drive success within Gen AI. So these are the business skills needed. So you can see here on the left, at the top, the ability to combine business skills with technical knowledge is now the #1 skill needed to bring real success with these initiatives. Much more now than communication or even adaptability and agility. It's that combined business technology knowledge. Flip to the IT people. When we spoke to them about the technical skills needed to drive successful Gen AI initiatives, #1 is data science and machine learning expertise. But close behind that is the ability to combine technical knowledge with business skills. So the technical side of the house is coming together with the business side of the house to realize we actually need to work together. This is no longer give it to IT to roll something out and we'll all figure it out later. This is very much how do we bring people skills and technical skills together under one roof to achieve our business outcomes. So this brings me to the end, and the lines are blurring between software and services, between people and technology, but what does this really mean? Most firms just aren't ready. I think 12% are prepared for this revolution. The rest are shackled in culture debt and technical debt. Half of us, we're not ready. Half of employees are fearful of AI. We need to reward and recognize people on their ability to embrace AI, embrace change. Technology is already here. This isn't, quantum computing, which always seems to be 5 years away for the last 20 years. It's here, it's now. Agentic is not a far-off dream. I mentioned about volatility. It's the new normal. We're in a society where just being human at work is a challenge for many people. It's not like it used to be. People are anxious about AI. They're anxious about crazy politics. They're anxious about what's going on in the world. And look to your ecosystems. This is a fantastic community in Hyderabad and India in general, where you have great ecosystems of academia, real estate, lawyers, tech service providers. Everybody's here is together. Ecosystems are so important now in building out collaboration. That's your antidote to uncertainty. And my final recommendation is be brave and be phobo. Be scared of becoming obsolete. None of us want to be there, and we have to be in a world where the future rewards leaders who take the risk and seize the moment and make fear become obsolete. That's my goal. Thank you.
To felicitate Phil, may I please invite Mr. Sai Ram Vedam, Global Head of Business Marketing Coforge and Management Committee Member HYSEA, to present the mementos to the speaker. Can we please have the mementos? The mementos are presented by HYSEA and ICICI Bank. Can we have the memento from ICICI Bank, please?
Yeah, no way. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us here, Phil, and for your keynote address. Thank you so much.